to focus on questions of what examples do we have where there have been commercial interests opposed to a scientific result that have ever operated in that way. And I'd like to suggest four sub-questions. Smoking, which has certainly been certified as harmful to health for decades, but commercial interests had other ideas. Global warming, where we see petroleum companies and automobile companies running TV commercials against the Kyoto Treaty. And the genome, where the obvious problems of insurance and confidentiality and privacy and discrimination are manifest, but commercial interests would have a different view. How could this possibly be different?
Well, I think the issue is that because it's going to be so difficult to get the commercial interests not to do extremely dangerous things, that's why we have a 30 to 50% realistic extinction risk.
Well, if I could take comment on that. The claim that the commercial world has a strong desire to wipe out its customer base is, I think, incorrect. If anything, the commercial world has a strong desire to maintain its customer base in a healthy and paying status. And in addition, I think when you start looking at this, when you start looking in detail at the ways in which you can use a self-replicating manufacturing base, an artificial self-replicating manufacturing base, you find very rapidly that what you don't want to do is produce the all-singing, all-dancing, capable system that can do anything, anywhere. You find instead that you want to divide function, and that in particular, the kind of systems you would want would be systems that would function in a very artificial setting to produce more product, but that any system that you produced and sold and made available in the world would not have any self-replicative capability. That indeed, from a commercial point of view, you would wish to sell products which people would use and throw out and then buy another one. And I think that the basic premise that we would want to design and build a very complex system which would self-replicate wherever it needed to be, while it does have a certain attractiveness from the point of view of immediate conceptual simplicity, when you start looking at it in detail, you find that this concept begins to break down.
I'd like to ask John Holland and John Koza, both of whom are concerned with genetic algorithms and genetic programming, in other words, a kind of evolution within a computer, whether they see the life in essentially the way that it has been characterized, that is, that when we have self-reproducing entities of any sort, that they will pose problems to our society, to the world, that are that stem directly from the way life evolved. That is, the intense competition, the fierce competition, the natural selection. Does self-reproduction necessarily carry with it this lethal threat of going out of control and exploding in the way that, in a certain sense, life, carbon-based life, has done? Does my question make sense? I don't know. In other words, does self-reproduction of any sort pose lethal dangers, no matter how tiny it is? I mean, viruses are an example.
The question's awfully complex. Lethal dangers. First off, the first thing that's going to happen when I have a self-replicating system almost certainly is going to be variation on the self-replication. That means that I'm going to get diversity. I'm going to have different parts of the environment exploited by different kinds of organisms. That's all familiar. I think, let me go to one of the extreme cases, what was it, gray goo, a self-replicating molecule that, or nano machine that I can somehow put out there, and all it will do will be to replicate, not produce anything useful, and cover our Earth with several meters of gray goo.
Well, a couple of comments. John Holland keeps mentioning things we haven't seen to date. That's not a strong argument of what we won't see in the future. But just to change the argument slightly.
It's not a strong argument that we will see them.
Well, I think you have to fully follow the arguments. How many people in the audience noticed this news item? Sun Microsystems announced today that it was relinquishing all research and development that might improve the intelligence of its software, the computational power of its computers, or the effectiveness of its interprocessor communication systems, due to concerns that the inevitable result of progress in these fields may lead to profound and irreversible dangers to the environment and even to the human race itself. Better to be safe than sorry, Sun's chief scientist Bill Joy was quoted as saying. I think the point, well, it's a cheap shot, I know, but there's a serious point to it, which is the progress of the type that we're talking about is the result of many innovative companies, thousands of companies, tens of thousands, millions of individuals who are contributing each in their own way. I don't think nanotechnology is any more dangerous than the inevitable result of more powerful communications and more powerful computers. You can describe self-replicating entities that are not nanotechnology that are much more dangerous because they're a little bit more intelligent if they're built at a slightly larger scale. And that's why this is a difficult issue. That's why I think technology progress, quote unquote, is inevitable. We have to deal with this in a sophisticated way. The kinds of suggestions that Ralph Merkel made, which the Foresight Institute has worked on for 14 years. If we look at biotech, which I don't think is 20 years away, I think the dangers that are here today, I think the means exist right now to create bioengineered pathogens. But how many people in the audience would want to stop bioengineering? Anybody who has a friend who has cancer, heart disease, any of these diseases, there's tremendous very promising progress that's going to be made through bioengineering. But wiping out all technology I don't think is feasible. And these kinds of dangers are something we have to contend with in a sophisticated way through a whole series of regulation, ethical considerations, design considerations. And unfortunately, we are going to have to create immune systems and shields. The genie's out of the bottle with biotechnology. The knowledge is already out there. We'd better hope that we create a bioengineered antiviral drug to combat these dangers.